Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gina Aguirre Adams, and I'm the President CEO of the Brazoria County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome you to our virtual State of Education Town Hall event. As districts across our county prepare to open their districts, we felt the need to come together and help answer some questions that the community has. We partnered with Kathleen Hopkins with the Greater Angleton Chamber of Commerce, Jamie Scafidi from the Alvin Chamber of Commerce to host this event. Now I'm going to turn it over to Kathleen Hopkins to thank our sponsor.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Kathleen Hopkins, CEO and President of the Greater Angleton Chamber of Commerce. We do want to thank Community Health Network today for sponsoring today's State of Education virtual town hall event. Community Health Network is a community-centered health center located throughout Brazoria, Galveston, and Southeast Harris County. Community Health Network provides quality and low-cost health services that would include pediatrics, women's and men's health, counseling and psychiatry, dental, and pharmacy services. So today with us, we also have James Scafidi.
It's Jamie Scafidi, CEO of the Alvin Area Chamber of Commerce, at least for the next couple of weeks. I will be moving on to a different opportunity, and I want to introduce and allow him to speak to you. As our board earlier this week approved Carrie Perrin as our new president and CEO. So Carrie, take it away.
Thanks, Jamie. Thank you, guys. Like I said, I'm the incoming CEO and president of the Alvin Area Chamber of Commerce. And today with us, we are proud to have the superintendents from Alvin ISD, Angleton ISD, Brazosport ISD, and Sweeny ISD. Our moderator for today's town hall is Israel Garcia, and Israel is the Director of Business Development and Emergency Preparedness for Community Health Network. Israel has been with Community Health Network for 8 years, and he's also a proud member of all of our chambers, and we're very thankful to have him today. Thank you, Israel, for moderating today's State of Education virtual town hall.
Absolutely. Thank you, Carrie. And thank you, Carrie and Jamie and everybody else. We are very thrilled to be here. I personally would like to thank the chambers, Gina, the Hispanic Chamber, the Angleton Chamber, and the Alvin Chamber of Commerce. We would not be where we are as an organization if we did not have the support of local chambers. For us, it's very important that the chambers are a part of what we do and what the community does. I'd also like to take the opportunity to introduce our superintendents. Ms. Carol Nelson from Alvin ISD is superintendent. Ms. Nelson has passionately served the students and parents and staff of Alvin ISD for the past 25 years. Before assuming her role as superintendent, Ms. Nelson served Alvin ISD as a campus teacher, a librarian, assistant principal, and associate superintendent. Mr. Phil Edwards. Mr. Edwards is a proud veteran in the field of education with more than 30 years of experience as a public school administrator and teacher. Mr. Edwards has stepped into the role as superintendent of Angleton ISD in the summer of 2018 after leading Kemp ISD for 3 years as its superintendent. From Brazosport ISD, Mr. Danny Massey. Mr. Massey has been in public education for more than 32 years. He has been an educator in Brazosport ISD for 30 years, and 30 of those years he served as a special education teacher, an athletic coach, an assistant principal, executive director, and assistant superintendent, and the last 6 years in his current position as superintendent of schools. And with this also, from Sweeny ISD, Dr. Troy C. Hill. Dr. Hill, superintendent of schools for Sweeny ISD, is an educational leader passionate about creating personalized learning experiences that empower students to create their future. He was born in Palmetto, Louisiana, where his grandparents and parents instilled in him the importance of service to others and positively impacting our community. So welcome to the State of Education Town Hall event. So now that we have our lovely superintendents, let's address the elephant in the room. COVID. As school districts begin classes over the next several days and weeks, there has been much debate over masks and no masks. It has been a conversation at a local level, at a state level, and at a federal level. While there is still much debate ongoing, we would like to hear what your districts will be doing. So we will start with Alvin ISD.
Thank you, Israel. So as in relation to the mask, we are going to follow the governor's executive order, which TEA, our governing agency, Texas Education Agency, endorses that, and they're our governing body. So we will follow that. However, we are strongly encouraging our elementary levels to mask up, because those are the students 4 through 6th grade or 4 through 12 that are not eligible yet for a vaccine. So we're hoping to get the vaccine as soon as it comes out and be able to offer that at clinics around the district. So as of right now, Alvin ISD will be, unless the governor changes his orders, will be following the governor's executive order.
Okay, Angleton ISD.
We're doing the same thing. Masks in Angleton ISD are optional. We're following the governor's order as well. One thing we are saying is we are reminding everyone what the CDC recommends, which is that anyone over the age of 12 who has not been vaccinated, or anyone under the age of 12, wear a mask. We are also providing masks at schools for anyone who requests them. We're not going to hand them out, but if a student or a staff member requests a mask, we will provide them one.
Great, thank you. Mr. Massey?
We're doing the same. We will comply with the governor's orders regarding the mask. And at this time, from what I read this morning, there's 5 school districts in the state of Texas that are going against the governor's orders. So that's probably 99% of the public schools in Texas today, at least, are complying with that, as well as we are also.
Thank you, Mr. Massey. Dr. Hill?
Thank you, Israel. We're happy to be here today, and much like as what has already been shared, Sweeny ISD will follow the executive orders. We are definitely stating to all of our students and staff that masks are optional. We're still recommending that we be mindful of our social distancing, and we're also providing masks for those who may want to use them at certain times. We're not distributing them, but we will have a limited number available daily for those who might need them. But we are definitely following the governor's executive order.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. A lot of good information. One of the challenges as a community and as districts, I obviously am friends with a lot of individuals that work at districts, most of you on this panel. One of the challenges that districts faced and parents faced was the idea of virtual learning. So I know as districts reopen, as districts open back up and kids began to come back on campus, will the school districts continue to offer virtual learning for those who choose to not go to campus? Or what options exist for those students and families? And this will go back to Dr. Hill.
Okay, so that's a great question. I will say that depending on who you speak to about virtual learning, we have many students who thrived in that type of an environment, and many who just were not successful. There is no replacement for optimal learning in the presence of a classroom teacher. And we all know that and experienced that throughout the beginning of this pandemic. We are not going to offer a virtual option in Sweeny ISD in the upcoming school year. Last week, TEA did release some options that would allow for virtual learning, but some of the parameters that are outlined in that guidance are somewhat prohibitive for us as a district our size, and so we're not going to be able to meet many of those guidelines, and so we will not offer virtual learning. We will, however, continue to make use of our learning management system. So when we know that we have students who need to transition out, we want to continue that learning for them through the use of Canvas, which is our learning management system. And we will excuse absences for those students who are not able to come, but as it relates to just being able to opt into a virtual only option, that will not be an option for students in Sweeny ISD.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. Mr. Edwards.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question. A lot of the things that Dr. Hill's doing in Sweeny were very similar in Angleton. The one thing I would say as well is we went and talked to focus groups at the end of last year about what was the difficulties we had last year. We talked to parents, we talked to teachers, we talked to students, we talked to administrators. The message we got back from every group was almost the same thing. The number one thing that was the most difficult is that students and teachers did not have personal interactions. We know that when teachers are in the classroom with students, that's when students learn best. And so we are going to enhance that. We are not going to offer remote learning this year. We want our students in our schools with our teachers. We do know there's going to be some situations, especially if a kid has to quarantine due to COVID or is exposed to COVID, and they're going to be out 10+ days during that time. We're going to be able to offer some remote instructional programs to help them while they're at home during those times. But just for someone opting in because they want to do remote instruction, we just will not offer that in Angleton. We feel it's more, our information back was that kids and teachers need to be in the classroom together, and that's the optimum learning environment that we can produce.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Ms. Nelson.
So very similar to Sweeny and Angleton. And at this point, we will not be offering a virtual learning opportunities for our students. When TEA or the legislature did not fund it, it was going to be very limited anyway if we could have done it, just due to the instructional staff. And the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends face-to-face instruction. And we know that over the last 18 to 20 months that our students suffered both socially and emotionally. And so they had some struggles. So the recommendation is face-to-face instruction. So at this time, ours will be 100% face-to-face instruction. As Phil said, Mr. Edwards, we will offer some of the remote conferencing once school gets started. It won't be day one, but for those students who are COVID positive, we will have some opportunities for them to work through Google Classroom with an instructor. But there are some guidelines that have to be followed to receive funding on that. But just like any student who's out ill for any illness, we're going to work with them. And I think that was the benefit of having virtual in the past, is now we have teachers trained and students trained on how to use some of these technology techniques that will benefit on both sides. But as far as virtual learning on a daily basis, it will not be offered in Alvin.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Mr. Massey?
Yes, the same as the other districts. Virtual learning is not an option for Brazosport at this time. House Bill 1468 did not go through the legislature. It failed, or it got caught up in them not being able to meet or not meeting. And so that if that would have passed, we would have had that option, but we do not have that option. And just like the other districts, we will use our learning management system also. For us, it's Google Classroom. Our students that are out, either isolated because of their positive or quarantined because of exposure, they will have access to their assignments, and their absences will be excused.
Thank you, Mr. Massey.
Can I
Go
add
ahead, Ms.
something
Nelson.
real quick? So we're hearing, across the news of different districts that are offering what they call limited virtual options. Some of what we're doing could be considered limited virtual. It's all within the definition, because our academic team has reached out to some of these districts to ask how they're doing it. And a couple of them have said they're only doing it for medically fragile students, and really it's going to look more like what we call homebound. And so I think all of our districts offer homebound services. So for any parent that has a medically fragile student, of course, we want them to be in contact with us. But as far as a virtual only learning like last year, that's where Alvin's not going to participate. And I think that's probably similar for the other districts. But I did want to clarify that because the media makes it sound like it's going to look like last year. And maybe there are some districts out there, but the ones that we contacted, it's within the definition of what you define as virtual learning. So.
Yeah, thank you for that, Dr. Nelson. That was something I wanted to point out too. We still have homebound instruction. We all do for students that are mentally fragile. And then, thank you.
This is a good segue into the next question. One of the things that COVID did, albeit pretty destructive, when you look at the state of education, when you look at the state of healthcare, when you look at just the state of families, because families, a good majority or the majority of families have experienced some form of loss or significant health issue as a result of COVID. One of the things that COVID did bring about was innovation. As a health center, we pride ourselves on being innovative. We look at various ways on how we can be more innovative beyond the traditional forms of standard health. And you look at hospitals, you look at telemedicine and telehealth, and the House, Texas State just passed new legislation regarding teledentistry. And those are fantastic opportunities for innovation. But I want to talk a little bit about, now that we have addressed the elephant in the room with COVID, let's talk about what are some of the innovative things school districts are doing beyond COVID. Let's talk about new technology, new programs, new ways of engaging families and engaging students. So I'm going to have Mr. Massey kick off this question.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that because I think all of us agree if we do education the same after COVID as we did before COVID, we've lost a huge learning opportunity because we've learned a lot through this. And several of the things that we have learned is, all of our students now have devices, some type of devices where they're connected to their schools. We all have a robust learning management systems, whether it's Canvas like Sweeny uses or Google Classroom like what Alvin and Brazosport use. But our kids have access now, digital access to their assignments, to immediate feedback, to many videos of their teacher teaching and recorded videos. And so when our students are out now, just for normal reasons maybe, that they would have pre-COVID, they have access to their assignments. And so learning doesn't necessarily have to stop when they're not at school. Meetings, you mentioned teledentistry. So we have lots of ARD meetings for our special ed students that we're able to do remotely. That's been a really good thing. It's really helped engage more parents because they don't necessarily have to take off work now or during the day, and they can engage in their child's education through Zoom like we are now, and still be engaged and very effectively. The also is even though we're not able to do remote learning or virtual academies like we would like to now, because of the way the state has tied up the funding to it, I do think that is a wonderful opportunity that we have learned that we can do. We can personalize and customize the student's learning experience through providing online classes. I mean, we all could get a master's degree right now without online. Why can't our kids go through school and get a high school diploma or go through middle school or intermediate school and get a quality education? I think that's possible. We have charter schools that are approved in our state that are virtual learning academies. It's not for everybody, but a lot of the things that we provide for our students, they're not for everybody. But there's some students, as we've learned, that really thrive in a digital environment like that and can do very well. Again, it's not for everybody, but we as a local school district would like to be able to provide that because we've seen that we can do it. We can do it, and some of our kids can benefit from that. So those are some of the things that we've learned from COVID and that we would like to continue through COVID. Just this week is, for us, is Meet the Teacher. All right, and so as the traditional Meet the Teacher goes, it's, you know, the school is filled, it's crowded with parents and students, and parents don't really get to meet the teacher. All right, they're just there getting a bunch of forms and paying fees and things like that. Well, what we did through COVID, you know, you scheduled in small groups where you could actually go in, sit down with 3 or 4 other parents and meet your child's teacher at the elementary levels, especially where that's so important. So that's what we're doing this week. We're scheduling parents to come in and actually meet the teacher face-to-face, individually, in small groups. So that was something really good that we learned from COVID that we probably would have never done unless we were forced to do it last year. So thank you, great question.
Thank you, Mr. Massey. Dr. Hill.
Well, that's a great question. I think I would echo what Mr. Massey said as it relates to just a silver lining in what we faced over the last year and a half. I think one of the key things here in Sweeny that we've realized is although we've had a learning management system for quite some time, I don't know that we were ever forced to really implement it with true fidelity. And so we really now understand the power of personalization. We've had these technology tools, but when we were really forced to be able to implement them, I think our teachers now have a better understanding of how to use the technology we have to really personalize for our kids. So that's really been a great opportunity of growth and a learning for us. I think the other thing too is that we have enhanced our abilities through becoming a more learner-focused organization. A year and a half ago, we all were at the starting point on learning new things, how to operate in a new space, be it how to lead as superintendents or teach in the classroom with students. We were all learning together. And I think it sort of recalibrated our organizations to realize that we all have to continue to learn in order to hone our craft so that we can be better educators for the students that we served. And so it really sparked this new fire for collaboration and learning together and really sort of capitalizing on the collective intelligence. I think the other thing that's really been extremely important for us is really stopping to listen to the voice of all of our stakeholders. That has been, it has, I think, allowed us to be able to really enhance our learning model. And that's everything from parents and what they think about the experiences over the last year and a half to our students and what they've thought about their experiences, our teachers. And so it may be hard to stretch and use the word innovation on that, but really it has been innovative in that it has kind of forced us to really stop and flip over our organization and really listen to the voice of the individuals we serve. I often think of it, like this. I don't know many organizations that could survive without listening to the voice of the end user. And I think we've been forced to have to do that. And it's really allowed us to really redesign how we're doing that. The other thing I would say is that we have really, during COVID, we had a design team of teachers who really flushed out a new vision for our district called a Life Ready Learner Profile. And really begin to focus on many of the soft skills that we know our students will need. We know that all of the essential knowledge and skills are important, but we also want to make certain that we're still continuing to build graduates who are life ready, who are able to communicate, collaborate, be empathetic and lead. And so that's a new sort of a focus area that evolved even in the midst of all the challenges that we've been facing. So we're excited. There were silver linings, and we think we will be even better as a result of it.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. One of the things that I can remember as a kid with teachers like Miss Batty in music and Miss Awesomeness at Mark Twain is the consistency of education and how important it is for teachers to be consistent in how they deliver education, but also be innovative. And so I want to continue this conversation with the same question with Ms. Nelson. Ms. Nelson, what are some of the innovative things that Alvin ISD is doing for their students and for parents and for teachers?
So I will say ditto to what Danny and Tori both said, but I think technology was something that really expanded during the COVID era and that we continue to use. So even the professional development for our teachers, we may have had teachers that, yeah, they could use a computer, but they didn't know how to do a Google platform, or they didn't know how to do Zoom, or whatever it may be. And so our teachers have grown by leaps and bounds, as have our students. And so I think, like the others said, when they're sick, we're still reaching out, we're still connecting. Some of the other things were when we were shut down, when students weren't coming to school, we sent our book bus out, and we sent what we called book fairies out. And so we had volunteers community-wise and in educators, and they went door to door to our kids and gave out books. And so it caused an outreach to our community during a very stressful time for them. And it showed that it truly is a partnership between the school district and the community, and that we did care. And so I think that really helped. And then now we're in the process of developing what we call a STEM bus that will go out into the community for educating with the students, especially in the areas where kids don't have access to it. And so just connecting to our community, I think that was something that was innovative, even during a time when we were, what we said, shut down, or we weren't able to get to the kids. And so we used to run our book bus just during summer months, and now it's pretty much year round. But technology, I think, is the big piece, and the professional development that came with that. And you know, our teachers continuing to grow, and our instructional staff, because I think everyone now knows how to use our Google platform within the district. So.
Yeah, I will say this. I'm very good friends with Ana Pasarela, and I knew how quickly, or I shouldn't say how quickly, but how important the book bus was. And seeing that book bus drive around is so cool. And seeing and hearing about everything that the districts are doing is so fascinating, especially for teachers. Because it's great to be innovative for kids. And yes, kids are the future, but if you don't have the infrastructure in place to provide the support for your teachers and your staff, it's going to be very difficult. So I'll continue that same question with Mr. Edwards. Mr. Edwards, what are some of the innovative things that Angleton ISD is doing?
You know, a lot of the same things you've heard from Danny, Tori, and Carol, we did as well. I think I'd also emphasize that PD piece for staff and even superintendents. I can tell you where I was, what I was able to do technology-wise where I'm at now, where I was a year and a half ago, is leaps and bounds. And so all of our staffs have gone through that experience, and that's been a positive because it helps us serve our students better. I think one of the other things I would say that really pointed out to us in terms of community is we got a real picture of how many of our students didn't have access at home to get connected on the internet, and told us how big that problem was. And we had to develop solutions for that to happen so that we could get them connected. We were able to do that. And I think it's also helps us enhance the conversation that we have with our community leaders about, we have kids that don't have access to the internet, and we need to get them access to the internet. We all know it's a digital world we're living in, and kids are getting left behind if they don't have that training or don't have that access. And so I think COVID really enhanced that, and it's allowed us to try to work on that problem and start to solve that problem as well.
That's a very good point, Mr. Edwards. I actually just had a meeting with Senator Cornyn's office, and we were talking about expanded broadband services to our parts of the county. In healthcare, technology is very important because, as you all know, the face of healthcare is changing, just as the face of education is changing. And my boss always tells me, Mark, he always says, if you're not innovating, you are behind the 8 ball, meaning you're really behind the times. And it's time that we think, as Miss Osmus would always tell me, and Mark Twain, put your thinking cap on and think beyond. And as educators, I know you all have at one point told your students that, put your thinking cap on, let's be innovative, let's be creative. Access to broadband services is very important to us in health. We actually recently partnered with T-Mobile through a connection through Gerald Rosnowski, the mayor of Lake Jackson, and actually Gina as well. She's actually our vice chairman for the board. That expanded access and that capability has enabled us to secure 500 tablets that we will be working with communities and schools to provide to students to have a medical home, a technology medical home when they get home. So not only will it be available for students, but it will also be available for mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, brother, sister, and maybe auntie, uncle, and the cousin down the street or the neighbor down the street. Whereas there is already a lack of access or a barrier for transportation and broadband services, T-Mobile has come in and enabled us to provide these tablets to provide collaborative opportunities for communities and schools and other organizations, perhaps even directly with the districts themselves, to provide to students that are at-risk students. So those are the importance of broadband is very much near and dear to my heart, especially when you look at Brazoria County, because Brazoria County is considered a metropolitan service area, where half of it is considered Houston metropolitan. But the remaining part, which Dr. Hill is very familiar with, and those that live in the west of the Brazos area are significantly underserved and outreached because it's considered rural, but not by the Fed standards. And so we're working with Senator Cornyn's office to help change those rules that impact both health and education at large. So very, very thank you, Mr. Edwards, for highlighting the importance of broadband, and all of you superintendents of highlighting the importance of broadband, because it is very, very important. I want to continue on with our next question. I have one last question after this, but for me, it's important because one of the things that as a result, and there is much debate as to why these numbers exist and how they exist. Some will blame the lack of in-person classes, and some will blame a lack of culture, a different culture at home, and parents playing multiple roles as parent, mother, superintendent, teacher, counselor, custodian, and food service worker. There are reports, for lack of a better word, that districts across the United States have really experienced high dropout rates, higher than normal. And the test scores are lower than average in terms of performance, primarily in elementary and junior high, secondary. What are some of the things that your district is doing to kind of say, okay, we experienced something very different, but we're back? And so what are we as a community, and what are the districts doing to help capture some of those students that kind of fell through the cracks of no fault of anybody, they just fell through the cracks. Technology was a barrier. Mommy and daddy had to work, and they were still working from home, and house worker, mommy, daddy, cafeteria, custodian, principal, teacher, educator. And so what are some of the things that your district is doing to help kind of address those issues? And we'll start with Mr. Edwards.
Well, thank you. Well, you just kind of hit on what we spent all summer, and we'll spend the good portion of this year trying to answer that question. That is one of the biggest challenges we have going forward. I can tell you in Angleton, one of the things we saw when we looked at the data that was very surprising is that kids who actually came to school and had the ability to be with their teacher all year. So the kid was there, wasn't taken out because of COVID, and the teacher wasn't taken out because of COVID. We actually outperformed what we did before COVID in 2019. We were very surprised to see that. I've been going around talking to our teachers about the outstanding job that they did last year in teaching kids. It was just phenomenal to see that information. And we see it time and time and time again. What you talked about is exactly right, is what do we do with the kids that didn't have those opportunities? They missed because of COVID or situations at home or whatever. How do we catch them up? And one of the things we've really focused on is what the research shows is working with students on acceleration. I think one of the mistakes that we've made or can continue to make is if a kid missed third grade or missed part of third grade and they moved on to fourth grade, we spend part of fourth grade teaching them third grade. Well, when they get to fifth grade, they're still behind. The research shows what we need to do is accelerate their learning, fill in the gaps so that they can be successful at fourth grade. And so that's where we've put our resources. That's where we've put our money. That's where we've put people on identifying kids that didn't make that year's growth, accelerating their learning in the grade that they're in, filling in the gaps so that they can be successful at that. And hopefully, not hopefully, but getting them caught up at a much quicker pace. I think the other thing that we've realized about this is not going to be a 3-month fix or 6-month fix or even a 1-year fix. That we're actually looking to do these services over the next 5 years. Sure, we're like everybody else. We got ESSER funding. That's what we're focused on, using that ESSER funding. It's supposed to last 3 years, but we're trying to work through it to get through 5 years so that we can continually support our students and have them be successful when they graduate from Angleton.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Dr. Hill, same question.
All right, this has actually been a big topic of discussion for us over the past couple months. How do we recover? How do we re-engage our students? How do we build capacity in our teachers? And our theme for the year is to hit the ground running. Hope, provide hope, be merchants of hope for our students as they return. The I is really to continue to inspire and use all the systems we have to inspire, but the T is teach like a champion. And I think that's the most important part, to teach like a champion. We know our students have had a challenging last year and a half, and so we're really focused on providing supports to our students. We've, as Phil mentioned, we also have ESSER funds, and so our goal is to really use those to provide additional supports in the form of interventionists to be able to provide that acceleration that Phil spoke about for our students. We're also investing a portion of that money into investing in coaches to be able to coach our teachers as well. We're really looking at supporting both sides of the spectrum, filling in gaps for our students, but also having individuals to really help our teachers improve their practice as well. Likewise, we're also really implementing a more robust social and emotional learning framework to be able to support our students. We know that many of our students over the last year and a half have not only struggled academically, but they have seen things happen in the world around them that they may not really know how to process. And so we want to make certain that we also have a good social and emotional learning supports to be able to help our students deal with the current realities that they may be facing. The other thing that is a big item for us is our special needs students. And so we are really allocating a portion of our ESSER funds to provide additional special education case managers to be able to help close the gaps for students who had struggling or had challenges learning even before the pandemic. And so that's extremely important for us. And so even this past week, as we have been engaged in professional learning, we have really been very focused on how do we use these new systems and supports to be able to help our students. The other thing I'll share that is extremely important for us is reading and a focus on literacy. We know that if students aren't reading on grade level by 3rd grade, then they're not likely to graduate high school. And if they do, they're going to struggle. And so we're really putting systems in place throughout the entire organization to really continue to build a love for reading. We've also partnered with our Education Foundation to provide a program that we refer to as Sweeny Reads. You can definitely check it out online, sweenyreads.org. But we're placing books in the hands of every single future Bulldog between 0 and 5 years old. Every single month, there's a book that's being mailed home to every single one of our future Bulldogs, because we want to begin to plant that seed and love for reading so that as they do enter into our schools, that we can take them where they are and continue to build. And so lots of different initiatives that are happening to be able to support both our current students and our future students as we plan to recover from what we've all experienced over the last year and a half.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. Mr. Massey?
Yeah, thank you. Very, very same experience as in Brazosport as what you've heard. I do want to echo what Dr. Edwards said. We saw the same thing. The kids that were at school, and we had second semester, we had 89% of our kids were at school, which was great, we thought. And so we saw our kids learning at high levels, the ones that were at school. And so Our third grade state assessment scores, they were really pretty good, actually, you know, and when we had to shut down a year and a half ago, you know, we saw how devastating and detrimental that was to our students in the area of literacy, especially, and social emotional. And so really having a literacy focus, you know, because it's extremely hard to teach kids how to read on Zoom, younger kids. And so that was a real focus this year. And I think because we had such an emphasis on that, you know, we do screeners, literacy screeners 3 times a year. And so the first one at the beginning of the year, it was low. It was really low. But what we saw, our teachers were unbelievable. We were able to close those literacy gaps, and where at the end of the year, our students actually were performing better than the previous year's students because it was such a focus. So that gap, you know, that learning gap, I think we see that and we hear that a lot. I think there's probably a lot of the other things that we hear and see a lot in headlines now. You know, we didn't experience as much as a learning gap as what you may see reported in the news, I think, because most of our students were at school. Now, the ones that weren't, we certainly doing the same things as the other districts mentioned, acceleration, interventionist. One of the things that we did also, because not only literacy, but as Tori said, the social emotional supports that our kids need, we hired licensed professional counselors. We have 7 licensed professional counselors in our district this year that have no academic or scheduling course responsibilities. They are serve and support and counsel kids. And so we're really excited about that. We added 2 this year. We had 5 previous year. We added 2 this year that are just there solely to professionally counsel kids. We also have a partnership through True to Life Ministries, which is a nonprofit in our community, where we have 2, we call them student success coaches. They're similar to a social worker. True to Life Ministries has access to a lot of resources that we don't have access to. And so we have student success coaches in our school, and we split fund those positions that can really help our students and help our parents with resources. And then we have also a partnership with communities and schools also, where we have case managers. They're social workers also too, that help support our students and their families in social emotional support.
Thank you, Mr. Massey. Behavioral health is very, very important. It's near and dear to my heart. I have seen the impacts, the negative impacts of a lack of access to mental health. Our organization alone grew by more than 33% in behavioral health services, with most of those coming from individuals who were negatively impacted as a result of COVID-19. So I understand, we see the need. We have worked extensively with both Brazosport ISD and Angleton ISD in rolling out school-based mental health services, and we were appreciative that we were afforded that opportunity. Ms. Nelson, share us a little bit about what along the same question, how is Alvin ISD addressing some of those disparities in terms of dropout or students that were negatively impacted as a result of COVID in their education?
So in Alvin, we didn't see a huge jump in dropouts. We saw some students that went to, quote, homeschooling per se, and actually, though they will be coming back, several of those students. But what we did was we actually went out, just like probably the others did, and found kids. When they weren't coming to school, we went door to door. We asked neighbors, we hunted them down and got them back to school, and or found out that they had moved and perhaps they weren't enrolled in another district, because we all have the system that requests records if they enroll elsewhere. So really it's just finding our students and getting them back to school. We have a program called Options, which is kind of a credit recovery, and students can come and go. They have to spend so many hours there, but they don't necessarily have the traditional school hours, so they may come early and then leave and go work and then come back. And we use some technology programs, Edgenuity and some others, through that program to help students with student recovery if they're behind, because the last thing we want is for them to drop out or to be a non-completer. So we have those systems in place, and we saw that we had to use a lot of that more during the pandemic to get kids back, because there are some that have anxiety because they have been out of the social circles, and it's like they feel like the world went on without them. When you try to explain to them that everyone was in the same boat basically, but getting them back to that, take that initial step. Like Danny said, they're ahead of us with the social emotional counselors, but we really like that idea. We network and share, and we probably have met more over the last 18 months than we ever met. And we've really connected. So we share with one another, and we actually have hired some social and emotional counselors. They won't have any other duties other than to work with our students, and we're using ESSER funds with that. And then we'll continue if we can add over the next couple of years. We also used some of those federal dollars, ESSER funds, because we had to have a plan in order to receive them, to hire behavior specialists for some of our elementary campuses that don't have a PASS program, because we know that when students are coming back, if they weren't face-to-face, they've developed some habits at home. And so we want that support for our elementary campuses so they can focus on the academics for our students. As far as scores dropping, we had a slight dip. We were pleasantly surprised in some areas that we saw some gains. But yeah, there's some areas that we definitely have to work on. So we've set academic priorities, and we will work toward that. But I think initially it's, especially those that weren't face-to-face, it's the anxiety of just getting them back, reassuring the parents that we provide safe learning environments, and that we're going to do everything we can. It's not going to be a year, like Phil said, a year that it's going to be a fix, or it's going to be a 3 to 5 year plan that we have to meet the needs of all of our students. But, pleasantly, we didn't see a huge dropout rate, because I guess it's the relationship piece that our educators have with the students, that we knew where they were. We went and found them. We coached them back. So.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. I'm a huge supporter of education. I believe that a thriving community, it directly correlates to access to health and access to education. And it's imperative that education be more than just what we know education to be. I believe education is also just being aware and familiarizing yourself with what's going on. I want to talk about the state of your education. And so the last question that I have for you is, what is the state of your district? And we will start with Ms. Nelson.
It's great. Come now then. No, so, this pandemic has definitely provided challenges for all school districts across the state. And I think that working with our community, we've connected a lot through this time with our faith-based community as well, our churches. Some of our people have gone out and actually worked with our churches to get kids comfortable with being in school during the pandemic. And I think it's so important that our students, through all of this, I think we learned a lot with health as well, how to take care of ourselves, how to be in an environment where there may be virus, and how do we stay safe, and what can we do to because it is a mind-body, I know what I want to say, but it's kind of a mind-body thing where if you take care of yourself, you're going to be ready to learn, right? So it's the Maslow hierarchy of needs. If you can't take care of those basic needs first, you're not going to be able to go up in the hierarchy there. So, Alvin ISD, I think, is meeting the needs of each student through the different programs. We have those for the Accelerated, our WINGS program, our STEM program, an orchestra program, but then also meeting the needs of our special ed kids, and then those kids who are in the middle. So as far as health, just, again, teaching those good habits, good protocols, staying safe. But then on the educational side, we have set our priorities this year and moving forward with, our students excelling at their highest academic and providing that excellence in all that we do in all programs as well as in the academics.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. I'm partial to Alvin, was raised in Alvin for a short period of, good period of time actually. So I have seen extensively what the district has done in Alvin. Probably for me, visually, the most fascinating being the reading bus. So it's the book bus, it's really cool. Mr. Edwards, what is the state of your district?
We're very excited about this upcoming year, very excited about our school district. We've talked a lot about COVID. I think I will tell you, we've been meeting, administrators came back 3 weeks ago, teachers came back last week. When I walk around and see our groups meeting, see our staff meeting, they're very excited to get this year started. And we know last year was tough, but we've also saw some of the great things we did last year. We kept kids safe, our kids learned, and so we're excited to continue that process. I think one of the other things that's very exciting about Angleton is we're in the middle of a $90 million bond program that we'll finish up building this year. That includes our new CTE center that'll be at our high school, which will open next year if it doesn't rain anymore, we hope. We are, and that's going to offer programs to our kids in engineering, computer technology, communications, culinary arts, welding, just programs that enhance our kids and make them ready when they get out of Angleton ISD to be successful. I think the other thing that I'm excited about, we had a demographic study done. Home building is going on in Angleton, and so our school district is going to be expanding over the next several years, and that's going to mean new schools, new students, and so that's exciting to begin that process and to see that happening. And so I don't know that we're going to get as big as Alvin anytime soon, but we are going to be growing, and so that's an exciting time. So it's an exciting time to be a Wildcat right now, I'd say.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. We have long enjoyed a good relationship with Angleton ISD, and to know that you're doing great things is very, very exciting. Mr. Massey, what is the state of your district?
Yeah, thank you. Before I share, I want to, since this is the last question, I want to make sure I thank Gina in the Hispanic Chamber and all that you do. Since we've been together since the very beginning of the Hispanic Chamber, and the great work that you've done and how far you've brought this along and how you've always supported education and supported our district for sure. Yeah, thank you, all the districts in our county. So thank you. And Israel, thank you also for the work that you do at Community Health Network. I mean, it's especially this past year, man, all the things that you were able to do through our partnership for our students and staff. Just thank you all very much. And thank you for putting this on today. So like the other superintendents, we're very excited to get back to school in Brazosport. Our theme this year is back to better. You hear back to normal a lot, but when you're in the people business like we are in education, we don't have many normal days. And so back to normal really doesn't make sense for us. So we like to say we are back to better, and we want to take all the things that we learned from COVID and make it better, like we talked about before. So we're back to better this year. We're a very high performing district as far as ratings, and just as well as all the other districts that are on here. Kids in Brazoria County get an exceptional education. All of the districts in Brazoria County are great districts. They have great campuses. They have just really dedicated and committed teachers. So education in Brazosport, as well as all throughout this county, is really, really high quality. We're very excited. Our college and career military readiness rating is an A again. For the 4th year in a row, I think we're rated as an A, and all 3 of our high school campuses were rated as an A again. And that's important to us. Just like Mr. Edwards mentioned, we want to prepare our students for the college, and we also want to prepare them for their future, whether that's the workforce. And so our mission is to graduate each student to be future ready. And to us, we define being future ready as college or career ready. And so that A rating for us means that our mission statement is just not something we hang on the board or put on paper. We're actually living our mission, and we have evidence to prove that. We're going to have, it's going to be announced next month. We're going to have the highest national rating that a campus can receive. We're going to have a blue ribbon school announced in our district. And so we're excited about that. The other really cool thing is, it's cool because it's a partnership with our Southern Brazoria County districts, our Catalyst program with Brazosport College, where we are paying our school districts, and then the college picks up the payment for students beginning their junior year to get a bachelor's degree in process technology or an associate's degree in instrumentation technology. And this really launches kids into some high wage, high need jobs. And what's so cool about it, it wouldn't have been possible if all of our districts had to come together to make it work. And we did. And we did because it benefits all of our kids. And so that's been really good. We passed a $267 million bond a year and a half ago. That was the largest bond in the history of Brazosport, and it passed by the highest percentage also too. So that was always good to feel like you had that sort of support. So we've built 6 new elementary schools, and then we started on our high school now. And I'm telling you, Carol's experienced this, I know, but elementary schools are nice to build. I mean, it's cool, but there's nothing like building a new high school. I mean, just because all of the programming that's involved in that, I mean, it's awesome. And so our new CT center will open up this year at Brazoswood High School, and then we'll build one at Brazosport High School. And then next school year, we're going to open up a brand new Brazowood High School. So it's the state of the art facilities that we've been able to open over the last 3 or 4 years has been transformational for our district, the new facilities. And then all of our districts now, I think, offer full day pre-kindergarten, which is an amazing opportunity for our 4-year-olds to get a full day pre-K with a certified teacher and really great facilities. And we also offer, if you don't qualify for free pre-kindergarten, we allow a low-cost tuition based, and so they can pay, and it's really a lot cheaper than daycares, and it's a lot better experience too, in my opinion. And then that's a great employee benefit for our employees. So our employees, 4-year-olds, can go to school in the district, and we charge them even less. It's really a low cost for them. And then again, you know, we always want to take care of the people doing the work in the district, and people doing the work in our district are teachers. You know, that they're the ones doing the work. And so we've continued to improve the benefits for them with salaries increases and stipends. We have a really unique partnership with all of our businesses that sign up. It's called Perk for Works. And if you're a BISD employee, you show them your badge, you get some type of discount just for being an employee in BISD. We have partnerships with apartments around town that give discounts to BISD employees. And then the last thing I want to share is our Grow Our Own program. And so this is where we had, when we started evaluating this, we had 40 paraprofessionals, which are like teacher aides, that make about $24,000, which is pretty low. We had 40 paras that had an associate's degree in our district. And so, and they're really good. They're really good. And so we went through an application process, and we paid for 20 of them to go get a bachelor's degree in teaching. And so they come back and they're teaching. And our starting teacher pays $56,000. And so it's a life changer for those employees that we can provide that opportunity for. And it benefits for us because we're all looking for teachers as far as the teaching shortage. And so we're still doing our Grow Your Own program also with our student teachers. And so that's the other thing, is it's hard for us to attract student teachers because we're at the end of 288. We're at the end of the river, like Sweeny. And so we don't ever get student teachers down here. And so we started paying student teachers and started providing them a place to live, kind of like their college dorm room. And they apartments give them a real low cost, and we pay for it, and they can room up. And so we've got partnerships with university teacher programs where we actually pay student teachers to come work in our district. And then once they get down here, of course, they love it and they want to stay. And so we get them to stay. So thank you again for the opportunity to share.
Congratulations, Mr. Massey, on your recognition of the Blue Ribbon. Congratulations, truly, really well deserved. Dr. Hill, what is the state of your district?
Yes. So we are extremely excited. Bulldog Nation is on fire as we prepare for this new school year. And I mentioned earlier, our theme is hit the ground running. And so we are really focused on providing hope for our students as they come back and just being merchants of hope, and really focused on inspiring them to be all that they can be. Our big focus also is on teaching like we've never done before, teaching like champions. And so we're really wanting to make sure that as we go into this year, and our teachers are pumped up about it, is that we really want to make sure we know every student by name and by need. And a big test for us was yesterday. We had our teacher luncheon, and I asked them about their level of excitement, and just to hear the buzz in the room was really evident. I could say we're excited, but to hear it from teachers and to hear the conversations and have them talk to me about their experiences is really invaluable. And so we've really, as it relates to the overall district, we are on the tail end of a $27 million bond, which was passed a couple of years ago to really renovate all of our facilities. We're very proud to have entered into a $1.7 million agreement with Chevron Phillips to open up the Chevron Phillips Chemical CTE Center, which opened during COVID, but we're excited about being able to expand that center this year in a more normal state. But much as what has been shared by everyone else, our CTE Center really is focused on making certain that our students leave us ready to go out and what I say is live, work, and play in Brazoria County. We want them to leave us with the skills that they need to be able to live a great life if they decide to stay here or go elsewhere if they decide to go to college outside of the district. But we offer everything from engineering to animal science. We've got our own Bulldog Nation store inside of our CTE Center. But it doesn't just start at the CTE Center. It actually starts at elementary. And so we have a very robust stream, science, technology, reading, engineering, arts, and mathematics program academy at both our elementary and our junior high that sort of feed into that high school umbrella. And as Danny mentioned earlier, we're also, as a team of superintendents, are part of the Catalyst program, which has really provided a phenomenal opportunity for our students to, again, live, work, and play in Brazoria County if that's what they choose to do. And we're really excited about that. And we're also very happy about our teachers, and we know our teachers have had a challenging year over the past year and a half. And so our Board of Trustees voted several months back to provide our teachers a 5% raise going into this new school year, which was very epic. And so we're excited about that. And I think it's really got our teachers feeling supported and valued and appreciated for the amount of work that they have put in. Now, I can't represent Bulldog Nation without saying how excited we are to kick off athletics. And so we have a new athletic director and head football coach, and we can't wait for Friday Night Lights. So we're just pumped up. We are ready, and the engine's cranked up and going, and we can't wait to see our Bulldogs back in the hallways next week, and to just see our community begin to rally around our kids as we start a new school year. So thank you all for having this forum, and again, for all your support for all of our school districts. We really do appreciate and value that support. So thank you.
Before I end, I want to ask Gina, are there any questions that are from the community?
All right, we have a question. Are the school districts fully staffed with teachers and support staff for this coming year?
This will be a yes, no, quick answer, no answer, whatever. We'll just start with Ms. Nelson.
So we still have some openings, but we have very highly qualified or certified long-term subs that we're planning to use in those positions until we find the quality of educator that we're looking for to fill those. So we're still looking. So if someone's looking for a job, be sure to apply.
Mr. Edwards.
In terms of professional teaching staff, I believe we are down to one opening. And so we're hopeful that we'll have that filled by the time school starts next week. I will tell you there's some other openings that have come up recently as well. As we've made decisions that personnel we need to hire to help kids in their education or help kids in their health. We've posted those positions in the last week or so. And so if you're a nurse, we've added a nurse at one of our campuses. And so just like Ms. Nelson said, if you're interested in coming to work for a great organization, please check out our website and look at the jobs we have available and apply for those jobs. We're continuing to hire and look for great people to join the Wildcat Nation.
We have
Thank
another.
you, Mr. Edwards. Mr. Massey, real quick.
Yeah, we have probably less than 5 professional openings still that we've hired some long-term subs to start with. Yeah, we added positions yesterday. We added several nursing positions yesterday, of course, you know, with the ESSER funds that we all received, just millions of dollars of support from the federal government. You know, the best way to spend that, and the only way to spend all of it is through personnel. So we all added lots of positions, you know, across the county and state. You know, when we were already under a teacher shortage, we added even more positions. So I don't know what we were thinking, but we all did it. So
Thank you, Mr. Massey. Mr. Hill?
Yes, I'll keep it short. I'll echo. We still have a couple positions open, but we're looking for quality, much as Carol has stated. But yes, we added several positions due to the additional funding that came in from the feds, but we definitely still have several and are looking for quality. We are, however, ready to start the school year, so we can start. We have what we need to get started.
Thank you. We'll take one more question due to time constraints. Go ahead, Tina.
Okay. Will field trips still be allowed?
Sorry, Ms. Nelson.
Yes, and Alvin, right now, we are allowing student travel. So we'll monitor and continue to monitor the COVID situation. But as of right now, yes, we will have field trips.
Mr. Edwards.
As of right now, we are allowing student field trips, although I will tell you this, one thing we've learned from COVID is to be flexible. Tomorrow's a new day. And so we'll continue to look at that data, and we may make different decisions as we move forward. I think one of the things that we learned from last year is it's really not practical to make a decision and think we're going to do that all year long. We know we go through spikes and valleys with this. And so we may make decisions to stop things for a short period of time, but when we see the situation get better, then we'll start to allow those things. I think we'll be more flexible when it comes to that this year.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Mr. Massey?
yes, same. As of today, yes.
Dr. Hill?
Yes, as of today, we'll continue to monitor numbers, but as of today, yes, we are allowing student travel.
Thank you so much. There are some key takeaways for me. I want a Brazosport ISD badge so I can get the perks. And if any of you are going to the zoo, let me know. I want to go on a field trip. I need a vacation. I personally want to thank each of you so much for participating in today's virtual State of Education. I have had the privilege and honor of working with a lot of you hand in hand on a lot of projects that we do at Community Health Network, whether it was implementing school-based mental health centers, whether it was working with your homeless liaisons, with your McKinney-Vento students and making sure that they had access to care, or recently working with your workforce development, your CTE programs on workforce development for our clinics. We are proud to say that as an organization, we hire on average anywhere from 5 to 10 students from the various districts for medical assistant programs, dental assistant programs, or any other programs. And we're proud that we were able to work with Alvin ISD on their rollout for their dental assistant program. So as an individual who loves to collaborate, we truly love to collaborate. If there's anything that we can do to help support you in your district, to be more successful, whether it's mental health, whether it's career and technology, whether it's access to vaccines and testing. We are available to assist you in any way that we can. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of your hard work. Pass the thanks on to the teachers for all of their hard work that they have done this year. We are truly, as a community, we are grateful for your leadership and for the effort that all of y'all have done to make our community better, stronger, and more educated. Thank you so much. Gina?
Well, actually, I'm going to go ahead and close. And I just wanted to thank you all once again for joining us today. We're really thankful that all of our superintendents took the time out of their schedules to participate in the State of Education virtual town hall. We also want to thank our sponsor, Community Health Network, also Jamie Scafidi and Carrie Perrin from the Alvin Manville Area Chamber of Commerce, Jana Aguirre Adams from the Brazoria County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and the Angleton Chamber. If you are looking for a way to connect your business or as an individual, just please check out our chambers. And you can find more information about our chambers by going to Facebook or our websites and looking up our events. So we just want to thank all of you for joining and have a great day.